Welcome to this episode of the Keto Vegan. I'm Rach. I am your host. If you find this helpful, then please hit follow or subscribe. You can find that underneath somewhere, depending what you're watching on or listening on. I'd love you to be connected with me and to do this journey with me. So last episode, it was the 7 steps to success. And I'd done that episode a long, long time ago as well, right near the start of this journey. So you now know what to do, what supplements to get, what proteins to look for, lots of menus and recipes on the podcast that I've done in the past and recently. And you're all set up, you're ready to go. You're following this journey, you're following a keto vegan diet. And it's so simple, isn't it? So simple. We know what to do. We know the food that we can eat and should eat if we want to lose weight. We know how often we should eat. We know that intermittent fasting is probably really good for us as well. But how do we keep our motivation going? How do we resist the urges? I struggle with urges and wanting to eat food that I know that I shouldn't. I have cravings and I succumb to them sometimes, unless I've really got my head absolutely right. And it's all about eating our emotions. That's the only reason that we eat when we're not hungry, or we overeat when we feel full, but we carry on eating. And that is what we need to address. This is where we need to grow and progress. So, how long have you been eating your emotions? What are the emotions that you're eating? How do you know the emotions that you're feeling if you're eating them instead? A question I want to ask you is, how happy are you? And I don't mean laughing all the time, but that peaceful feeling, that content feeling, that loving yourself feeling. Where is that? How often do you feel that? Now, if you're trying to lose weight, it means that there's something about you physically that you want to change because you think it's going to make you feel happier. And I know for me, when I'm at a certain weight, I feel much more content. I feel more peaceful. I am happier because I know that I'm in control. I'm not eating unnecessarily. When I am heavier than I want to be, it's because I've been eating when I'm not hungry. It's because I've been overeating and there's something else going on. And this is what we're going to look at today. What do we do to help counteract that part of our psyche, that part of what we eat and what we consume? Because we know what to do. We know the supplements that we should be taking because we've done the research or you listened to an episode. We know the proteins that we like to eat. Well, I know the proteins that I like to eat. I know the textures that I enjoy. I know exactly what I should be doing. I'm weeing on my little wee strips in the mornings and I'm coming up all nice and dark and keto. It doesn't mean, though, if I'm sticking to a keto, that I'm not going to put on weight because I can binge keto vegan food and that makes me put on weight. And it's just this, it can be this cycle until you get your head in the game, until you start feeling your emotions rather than eating your emotions. Normally, when people eat their emotions, it's negative emotions or boredom or bad habits they've got into or loneliness. But there are some people as well that when they feel happy, that's very much associated to when they did great things when they were young and somebody treated them with something that wasn't particularly healthy, carb heavy, chocolate, sweets, that sort of thing. And so they link happy emotions to overeating. You hear about these people, don't you, that when things go tits up, that they go off their food. That's not me. I eat when I'm unhappy, when I'm miserable, when I'm lonely, when I'm bored, or when I get into this terrible habit of putting on the telly, sitting in front of the telly and mindlessly eating. Could be keto vegan food Or I might have a binge, which is out of control eating mindlessly, and I might have gone to the local shop and bought myself some crisps and dip and bread and stuff like that and butter, all vegan, because I'm not going to compromise that. But I do sometimes crave carbs and will then get up off my seat, decide I'm going to go and eat carbs, despite doing this podcast, Keto Vegan. How hypocritical is that? And I just go and do it. And then afterwards, I think, why? I feel bloated and it sits in me for a day and it makes me feel really, really uncomfortable. And then I've got that feeling of guilt and shame and disappointment. So, how can we stop that happening? There is a way to get to success, to get in control with our heads. As I've said, we know what to do, but how do we keep persistent? How do we succeed at this eating addiction? Because that's what it can be. That's what it can become. And that's why we need to then find another way to get our heads into the game around not eating when we're not hungry, not eating because we're craving, we're going to have a binge, how to get our heads on top of that. So remember what I used to look like? My first episode is what I used to look like, and I'm actually going to put a picture in here. You can see that now if you're watching on YouTube. Honestly, if you're not watching on YouTube, you're missing a bit of a treat there. I look entirely, it is me. I look entirely different. I look very unhappy. Hated my photo getting taken. There aren't many photos of me. That's what I was. And I was like that because I was so desperately unhappy. And so I ate my emotions. I didn't have strategies. I didn't know how to voice what I wanted. I was just silently coping with life. And basically, my emotions, I didn't know how to express them. I was trying to find my way through life and surviving, and I used it with food. When we eat our emotions, what are we getting from food? It's very complex. Is it because you just love eating and the textures? I'm hoping I'm not triggering anybody, by the way. So I won't go into too much detail about all of that because I'm thinking, oh, food. Um, so is it because we want the flavor, the textures, or is it because we just want to eat because the act of eating makes us feel in that moment loved, good? Does it bring us comfort? What is it that makes us do that? It's going to be any of those things. We do it because we might think that food loves us. Food doesn't love us. Food is just food. It brings us calories. It brings us, hopefully, nutrition, depending on the food that you're eating. It does not love you. Food doesn't love you. And if we are turning to food for love, do we love ourselves? There's something about us that needs to change. We need to be kinder. We need to look inside for our love, not outside for food. When we crave food or when we overeat, we are avoiding something. What emotions are we avoiding? Now, we're so good at avoiding our emotions, at eating instead of feeling those emotions, that we probably don't even realize that we're avoiding feeling emotions because we've got into such a habit. Our primitive mind, which is your left mind at the back here, it is in such a habit, it feels that it's safe when it's eating. We have used that as a coping strategy for whatever emotion. And our primitive mind, if we have survived, it will do what it did before to help us survive when these certain feelings come up. So when we perhaps felt sad or upset and turned to some ice cream or some cookies or some bread or whatever, and we got some comfort from that back then, next time we feel upset or lonely or depressed, our primitive mind will think, ah, that worked for Rach last time. I'm going to do it again for her because I want her to survive. I want her to feel good. And so my primitive mind will make me have this urge to go and do that habit again. And if I haven't got any of those foods in the house, my primitive mind will say, well, just go and get them. The thing is, with our primitive mind, it's unconscious, it rules our system, it's not intelligent, it's not an intellect, it's like a 6-year-old child. So it can't reason, it cannot use logic. It just goes to learnt behaviors that have worked for you in the past. This is why we build up these habits and we turn to these things when we feel certain ways. So how do we overcome this? Yeah, hey, I'm going to show you how to overcome it. It's going to be hard work. It's going to take discipline and it's going to take courage. So are you ready? Do you want to change? Do you want to be free from binging, from craving, from eating unnecessarily? I think you do. I know that I do forever, for going in the future. For I want to be able to look at this big range of carby food that's all vegan and not even be tempted by any of the stuff that I used to crave and binge on in my past. Are you ready for this? As soon as you recognize, oh, I really fancy whatever it is, or once you've had some of your keto vegan food, and then you're sitting there and you think, oh, just have another one. As soon as something like that happens, you recognize it and you stop. You stop what you're doing, you get out of the seat or out of the location that you are in. As soon as you feel that urge, as soon as you are aware of that thought, you stop. Absolutely stop. Because if you just imagine it as an emergency stoplight, maybe at a train crossing, and the barrier is just coming down, if you carry on, it could lead to disaster. So you stop because you know it's not safe going any further. So you take heed of the signal and of the sign, don't you? You're not going to risk going across a train crossing if there's a train coming, or you're not going to risk going across a really busy junction if the lights are red. So you stop. Once you stop, take yourself to a safe place, a place where you never eat, a place where there is no food. You take your phone with you. When you get to this safe place, it could be your bedroom. If you do snack in your bedroom, go to a different room in the house where you never eat. It could be somebody else's bedroom, it could be a spare room, it could be anywhere. But where you are going to be on your own, you're going to feel at peace there. You're going to feel safe there. So you've stopped, you've moved yourself out of that space. You then get your phone, put it on silent so nothing can disturb you. You go to your timer and you set your timer for 2 minutes. That is all, just 2 minutes. There's a reason for this. Then, once you start your timer, you start feeling what you're feeling. What was it? What emotion was it that you were going to be eating instead of feeling? It can take a while and many times of doing this to find your feelings, because we're so good at avoiding them, not feeling them, and eating instead. Then you get the shame, the guilt, the disappointment, horrible emotions that zap your energy and zap your self-love. So what emotions are you feeling? How do you find your emotions? What does recognizing emotions actually look like or sound like or feel like? What is that? So you could ask yourself a question. okay, if I had a therapist right now, what would she or he be finding out about what I'm trying to avoid? Now, what I found when I started doing this is that the emotion I was avoiding was loneliness. Now, for me, as a single, independent woman, that was difficult to come to terms with because I'm vehemently single, independent, don't need anybody. And I love that about who I am. But then when you realize it's loneliness, I'm using food as my friend, as my lover, as my comfort, and all of that. And it's difficult to come to terms with emotions that you've been avoiding for so long, especially if you think it's a weakness. When you recognize the emotion, feel it. Feel that feeling. And then see where that goes. And once you've sort of got into the feeling, your alarm's going to go off. That 2 minutes is up. Now, you might want to just swipe that timer away and carry on with the feelings, or you might not. And I'm going to come back to what we do with those feelings in a minute. But so your timer's gone off. And this is a signal for you that if you still want to, you can then go and have what you were craving. Oh my God, I know. You can go and have that extra portion of the keto vegan food that's in your little pot. You can heat it up in the microwave if you do your lifestyle the way that I do, lots of tiny little pots in the freezer. Or you can have that bread, or you can have that chocolate, or whatever, as long as it's vegan, guys, as long as it's vegan. That is so that your primitive mind knows it is safe. Because your primitive mind, as I've said, has no logic. It's a child. It needs to be given time out, but knowing that it can come back. And so by stopping, getting to a safe place, setting your timer for just 2 minutes, your primitive mind knows all I've got to do is wait 2 minutes, and then I'm going to be able to do what I need to do, or it thinks it needs to do. But your logical mind, your emotional right hemisphere mind, actually wants to connect to something broader, bigger, and more expansive and more loving. So you've got your 2 minute timer. And after that 2 minute timer, if you want to then have your craving, your urge, have it. No guilt. You're allowed it. It's permission to do it. Flip and enjoy it as well if you're going to do that. What I found, I would go and sit in my therapy chair where my clients sit in my therapy room, which is where I am right now. And I would sit there, put my 2 minute timer on, and just breathe and feel. And then I wouldn't want what I was craving. I would come back to a place of balance. And then an hour later, if that craving came back, I would do the same thing again and explore it. Is it because I'm actually hungry that I want some food? If you're hungry, go and eat something. If you're not hungry and the cravings come back, it's because your primitive mind doesn't like being told what to do. It's a child, it's a stroppy child, and wants its way. But you know the logical way and the better way for you and the more loving way for you is to not do that. And the more we resist that urge, that craving, the weaker over time it comes. So it will get weaker and weaker over time, and you will get stronger and stronger. And the beautiful thing about this is you're going to start feeling your emotions. You're going to be becoming more balanced. Back to the emotions. What do we do with our emotions when they rise up? When our emotions come up, it's because our unconscious mind is probably telling us we're ready to tackle that emotion. If you need to talk to somebody because you realize there's lots of stuff coming up, loads of shit coming up that has been put on you for years, sometimes we need to get extra help and to help get somebody to help us work our way through that. But sometimes we don't. Sometimes we can work our way through it ourselves. So we feel that emotion and explore it a little bit. I'm a solution focused hypnotherapist. So I don't like going digging around in the past looking for stuff for problems. Because when our imagination, our memory, our brain remembers stuff, our brain doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. That's why dreams feel so real. If we go digging into the past, we're going to be reliving that, and our brain's going to be thinking it's real. We don't want to do that. We want to focus on how we want our life to be. But sometimes we need to have some forgiveness for ourselves or for others to release and let go. And that's when going back is okay. So, is there something that comes up, a memory that comes up? What are you going to feel, do you think? What do you think will come up for you? Loneliness is such a thing for habits that are unhealthy. We turn to these things to avoid feeling lonely. So, what do you do if you are feeling lonely? You have to be active. You have to put things into place. Go on to, God, what's that website called? Where you can join groups and stuff like that. I've got it on my phone. Just gonna, it's no, it's not Eventbrite. It is Meetup. Is it Meetup? Is that what it's called? Probably. Yes, something like Meetup. There's loads and loads of groups on that app called Meetup that are local to you. Do walking groups. You can join the gym. I'm thinking about joining a gym because I'm at a weight that I'm happy with, but I am weak, so I need to get fitter. That will also mean that I'm being more sociable. Well, that's the idea, isn't it? Find out what's going on. Connect with your emotions. It's so, so important. If you need further guidance or help with this, message me. My contact details are in the show notes underneath this episode. And finally, I think the most important thing about any way of living food-wise is to get it right in your head. If you need support with that and help with that, find a therapist that can support you. Or you can reach out and contact me. As I've said, my details are below. If you did find that helpful, if you know somebody who is struggling with eating addiction, then do share this episode with them, whether they're keto, whether they're vegan, whoever they are. This might be exactly what they need to hear in this moment. I'll see you next time.